A sudden slam of the shutters sends a cool breeze rushing into the room, tossing the thin curtains around like they're dancing. The morning sunlight spills in, landing right on the face of a young man who's deep in sleep. He stirs, slowly pushing himself up, only to realize something's off. This isn't his bedroom. Blinking hard, he takes in the unfamiliar walls, the wooden beams, and the faint scent of old furniture. Something about it feels familiar, though. He rushes to the window, and that's when it hits him. The scenery outside looks exactly like the setting of a game he played not too long ago. And not just any game. Heroic Legends of Arcane, a massive fantasy epic full of danger, epic quests, and an academy at the heart of it all. In one version of the story, a single failed mission even causes the entire world to collapse. But right now, the young man is less worried about that, and more about the fact that he's inside it. 3 years ago, he somehow ended up in the body of Corin Lockcatch, a nameless level 1 NPC who exists solely for a newbie quest where the protagonist saves a random villager. Not exactly a glamorous role. Still, he figures it's fine. As long as the events follow the original plot, the main character will handle the hard stuff. So he decides to walk the streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of the hero, Park Shiyu, before his rise to fame and fortune. Eventually, Corin spots him, but instead of delivering some epic line, the guy is sitting there wishing for sweet potatoes and a can of Sprite. Corin freezes. Did he just say Sprite? This world doesn't even have soda. Curious, he approaches and breaks the news. That drink doesn't exist here. The boy touches his face like he's trying to piece something together, muttering that he'll just live for himself. Corin grabs his arm to calm him down, and that's when he realizes the truth. Park Shiyu is like him, another outsider who somehow ended up in the game. The difference? Park has the perks of a true game protagonist, including the legendary stat window. The only problem? He has no idea how to use it, since he's never played before. Lucky for him, Corin's a veteran. He's played every route, unlocked every ending, and knows exactly what's coming. He advises Park to boost his intelligence if he wants to be a mage and warns him about the all-important skill book. Park listens, clearly realizing that having a walking strategy guide by his side is an incredible advantage. From that point on, they become a deadly duo, Corin providing intel on monsters and weaknesses, Park doing the heavy lifting in battle. Park protects Corin, Corin guides Park, and together they crush every supernatural threat in their way. Their teamwork is so seamless, it feels like they're unstoppable. Corin's goal? Help Park grow strong enough to save this world, prevent the apocalypse, and eventually find a way back to reality. One day, after a particularly intense mission, Park casually hands Corin a bottle of shimmering magic elixir. Corin asks where it came from, but Park just waves him off, calling it a small surprise and saying the details don't matter. Without thinking, Corin drinks it down. But despite the thrill of their adventures, there's one thing that leaves Corin slightly disappointed. This game world, for all its epic fantasy charm, seems to be lacking one crucial element. Pretty much every heroine he remembers. And that, my friends, is where things might start getting interesting. Now, Corin had always thought there was one thing missing from their epic journey: heroines. The original game was full of them, plus a bit of dating sim flair to keep things interesting. But for some reason, Park Shiyu never seemed interested in recruiting any female characters unless absolutely necessary. Slowly, their team ended up being made up entirely of men. Sweaty, smelly men. Corin tried to laugh it off at first, but maybe he should have started asking questions the moment things got weird. Like when the granddaughter of the Emperor of the Sword died, before even reaching the induction ceremony. Or when Maria, the final boss of the first stage, just vanished without a trace. Even when characters started disappearing one after another. Heroes gone, storylines breaking apart. He didn't connect the dots. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he was too focused on the Park Shiyu he thought he knew. The selfless protagonist, his reliable partner, his friend. That illusion shattered the day Corin decided to sneak into the basement of Park's house. At first, it looked like a normal dungeon-like storage room, until his eyes landed on something behind glass. It was Maria Dunarev, one of the game's central heroines, trapped inside. And beside her, her weapon, the iconic battle staff. Corin's stomach dropped. How could this be here? He kept looking around, only to find even more disturbing treasures. Odati's sword, belonging to another missing heroine, Alicia. The rare Mace of Jagger. Lark's legendary spellbook. All these items had belonged to powerful allies, all of them now gone. But nothing compared to what he saw next. In a giant flask, floating in some strange liquid, was Maria herself. Alive but imprisoned. Before Corin could even process what he was seeing, a voice cut through the air, sharp, annoyed, and far too familiar. Park Shiu was standing right behind him. Corin's rage boiled over. He demanded to know why Park had told him Maria was lost. Park just brushed it off, saying she was a demon anyway. He pointed to some bizarre device in the corner, claiming her blood, the blood of an ancient vampire, was far too valuable to waste. In fact, he'd already found a use for it. Corin's mind raced. The elixir, the one Park had given him not long ago. Park admitted it outright. He'd made Corin drink vampire blood. Corin collapsed to the floor, reeling. All those nights waiting in the forest to catch her, all the effort he'd poured into helping, and Park had lied the whole time. Park wasn't finished. He sneered, saying Corin's hero complex was inefficient, that saving people, refusing to kill certain enemies, and trying to be the good guy only slowed them down. Using people was better, more profitable. He even calculated that if he killed just 3 more, he'd hit 100,000. That's when it hit Corin. This guy wasn't new to the game at all. The trust they'd built, the friendship, fake. From the start, Corin asked him how many people he'd already used up. Park told him to think about it for a minute. That's when Corin's fury finally exploded. He snapped, charging straight at Park Shiu. Corin lunges at Park Shiu, shouting that he's nothing but a monster. But Park just tells him to get a grip. It's only an NPC, and Corin has killed him before. Corin snaps back that, yes, he has, but only when there was no saving them. Only when they were an actual threat to the world. So why, he demands, did Park take Odati's sword? Why hide a knight's rare item? And why bother with this bizarre vampire blood farm when he could just use a normal elixir from the system? Park steps forward, grabs Corin by the collar, and hisses that he's a naive fool. This isn't about efficiency. It's about finding a punching bag to satisfy his twisted side. Corin's outrage boils over, but before he can get another word out, Park locks his arm, throws him off balance, and floors him with a single hit. Hovering over him, Park snarls that after everything he's done for Corin, he has no right to talk to him like that. Grabbing his collar again, he accuses Corin of meddling in things he doesn't understand, of wasting time staring at girls instead of focusing on their mission. Then, Park's wild gaze sharpens, and his voice drops. He says he's not holding back anymore. Corin stares at him, horrified, as the words sink in. And then, the truth hits. Park confesses that he's cleared the path of every obstacle for one reason, for their future. For him. That's why he never brought female characters on missions. That's why their team was always just men. Because, Park says he only wants him. Corin's blood runs cold. He springs to his feet and slaps Park hard across the face, his mind screaming that this is insane, especially since he's never even had a girlfriend. Without another word, he bolts for the exit. But the escape is short-lived. Glowing magical ribbons snake after him, coiling around his legs, his arms, his entire body. He fights, thrashing and yelling, but they drag him back, straight to Park's feet. Forced to kneel, Corin stares up at him, breathless and terrified. Park smiles, says he can't escape, says he's going to lock him up forever. And in this fake, fictional world, Corin is the only thing that's real to him. Corin's fear turns to hysteria. He calls Park a sick bastard, but Park just answers with a calm smile. It'll be over soon. Just one more battle. And then, with a glint in his eyes, he promises they'll be together forever. The final stage of the game begins. Corin wonders if this was Park's plan all along, to kill everyone else so he could face the last boss alone. But before he can figure it out, the unthinkable happens. A system notification appears. The mission has failed. The protagonist is gone. And then, morning. The same bed, the same cold wind through the shutters, the same city outside his window. It's 3 years earlier, the day it all began. Corin touches his face, his hands, confirming he's real. Tears burn his eyes, not from sadness, but from rage. He remembers everything. Everything Park did. And this time, he's going to end him. He's going to finish the player. Once upon a time in the game world, there was the infamous Rashian River incident. During a quest to tame water monsters, a dam burst. The raging river swept away an entire settlement. People, monsters, everything gone in minutes. Thousands died. Most would have been horrified. But Park Shiyu, he stood there smiling. No, laughing. Like it was the best thing he'd ever seen. At the time, Corin hadn't understood why, but now he does. To Park, those deaths weren't tragedies. They were opportunities, free experience points right for the taking. Corin remembers the words Park had once said. If he killed just 3 more, his total kill count would hit 100,000. Now, Park seemed less like a protagonist and more like a full-blown devil. That's why Corin knows he has to stop him. And he has to do it now, before Park grows too strong. Right now, Park's still just a 5th-ranked player, same as him. But once he gets more power, it'll be impossible. The Maraba Academy is where all the best upgrades are concentrated, and Park has already joined. That means his growth will only accelerate. The induction ceremony is in 5 days. Corin needs to get there first. On the way, he spots some mushrooms, perfect for brewing elixirs, and pockets them. His mind never stops calculating, turning over the same conclusion. If he's going to win, it has to be before Park Shiyu reaches his peak. Up ahead, there's an educational quest in progress. The setup is simple. A carriage breaks down in a forest crawling with monsters. The player's job? Protect the passengers until repairs are finished. Corin hangs back in the trees, watching. A boy finishes off one monster with a clean strike, earning praise from a girl nearby. Flustered, he straightens his hair and thanks her, grinning. Meanwhile, the carriage crew announces repairs are complete, inviting Miss Laura and Mr. Land aboard. Laura stretches, already imagining a nap, when a chilling howl splits the air. From the bushes, a massive, shaggy beast bursts out, ripping a tree trunk from the ground and hurling it straight at them. Layan shoves Laura aside, just in time. The log slams into the earth where she'd been standing. Swords are drawn. The monster charges, roaring loud enough to shake the ground. That roar, it's familiar. A werewolf steps into view. A 2nd-rank monster, part wolf, part nightmare, with curling horns, jagged fangs, and claws like knives. Corin narrows his eyes from his hiding spot. The mission's already in motion, too late for him to jump in and save them outright. The werewolf lunges at Laura, slashing her down. Layan shouts for another boy behind them to hide in the carriage, promising to hold the monster off. But the boy refuses, yelling for the crew to drive on while he catches up. Laura calls out to him, but he shakes his head, saying he can't leave Layan to face the beast alone. The werewolf has Layan by the neck now, hoisting him into the air. The boy steps forward, sword ready, planting himself between the monster and his comrade. Corin watches closely from the shadows. He needs to know exactly who this fighter is. Could it be Park Shiyu? The scene is tense. Corin watches from the shadows, still unsure. Is this the hero of the game, Park Shiyu, destined to save the world, or just a guy who stumbled into this place by accident? The boy facing the werewolf seems almost excited. His eyes shine as he takes in the monster's massive size. But then, a sharp voice cuts through the chaos. A girl shouts for him to duck. She's already airborne, sword raised, aiming straight for the beast's head. But the werewolf isn't slow. Its massive paw swipes her attack away with shocking ease. The girl's eyes widen. This creature just blocked one of her strikes, something most enemies couldn't dream of doing. She calls back to the boy, telling him to fall back. She can handle it. This isn't just any fighter. Standing there is Alicia Arden, 2nd daughter of the noble Arden family, wielder of one of the 6 royal swords, Odadi. A famed hero in her own right. But then, something completely unexpected happens. The boy she's protecting pulls an enchanted knife from his jacket. With a sly grin, he mutters about not wanting to miss the moment of her death. He slashes at her. She dodges, but it's close. Korin's eyes narrow. Now there's no doubt. That's Park Shield, the same Park he's been planning to take down. Alicia stares at him in shock, clutching a scratch on her shoulder. She asks why he would attack her. Park just smiles apologetically, claiming he was nervous, and his hand slipped. But his act doesn't fool Korin. The werewolf isn't interested in their drama. It roars again and attacks. Alicia pushes aside the confusion, forcing herself to focus. She closes her eyes, takes a breath, and regains her composure. Then her swordplay kicks in a high gear, elegant, precise, driving the beast back step by step. Park watches this, realizing she could actually win this fight. But he doesn't want that. As soon as her momentum builds, he hurls another poison knife at her. This time, she spots it midair and smacks it aside with Odati. Now she knows his first attack wasn't an accident. Still, she has to finish the monster before dealing with him. She seizes an opening, raising her sword and striking down the werewolf. But at that exact moment, pain tears through her, Park's poison sinking in deeper. She collapses under the beast's weight. Park steps forward, ignoring her entirely. His eyes are on the sword. He pries it from her grasp, lifting it high in triumph. Odati is his now. Sure, he can't use it yet without the right skill, but he'll figure that out later. Then he glances down at the wounded hero and muses aloud about gaining some bonus experience by killing her too. Alicia, still conscious, watches him raise the sword over her head. But before he can strike, something bursts overhead. A puff of reddish dust explodes in his face, coating him in powder. He coughs, wipes at his eyes, and realizes he's covered in the pollen of topan mushrooms. The problem? Monsters in this forest love that scent. To them, Park now smells like a walking buffet. From all sides, creatures emerge from the bushes, charging at him. Park is forced to fend them off, completely distracted. Seizing the chance, Korin rushes in, dragging Alicia from beneath the werewolf's body. She's alive, barely. He lays her down gently, then notices the monster's corpse. A prize like a werewolf's fang is too good to waste. He quickly starts cutting it free. That's when he hears footsteps, a voice he's grown to hate. Park Shiu. Korin still doesn't look up, just casually mentions he once killed 3 horned rats in under a minute, and that wielding Odati must feel amazing. Park freezes, recognizing the voice. That's impossible. Korin was supposed to be gone from this world. Korin finally rises, turns, and Park realizes it really is him. And just like that, the hunter and the prey stand face to face. What happens when their blades finally cross? Park Shiu is still reeling, clearly confused about how Korin is even here. He blurts out the question, but Korin notices something. This lunatic might not remember anything. And if that's true, he can use it. Korin casually warns him that holding Odati like that might cost him an arm. Park frowns, glancing down in confusion. And that's when Korin makes his move. A fistful of dirt, scooped up earlier near the werewolf, goes straight into Park's eyes. Park howls, cursing, swinging wildly in every direction. Blind and furious, he promises to kill Korin on the spot. Despite the reckless flailing, his movements are surprisingly nimble for such a bad swordsman. Korin knows he can't match Park's raw strength, so he goes all in. With a newly claimed werewolf fang in hand, he starts slashing at close range, keeping the fang right in Park's face. The sharp tip dances dangerously close, making Park focus on nothing else. Korin's plan is simple. Keep him obsessed with the fang until his guard drops, then bring out the real weapon he's been hiding. And when Park's eyes are glued to that jagged point, Korin strikes. The hidden blade flashes. Park never sees it coming. One swift attack, and he's on the ground. Korin finishes the job, leaning in close to say this is his thanks for their past life, because even if he's stronger now, he has no regrets. He's just eliminated the so-called hero before the real trouble began. But that single action sends the entire game into chaos. The program scrambles to find a replacement protagonist, and after a few glitches, every stat and skill Park gets dumped onto Korin. Just like that, he's no longer a background NPC. He's now an A-class knight, and a martial arts master student. Corin barely has time to process the upgrade when a weak groan pulls his attention. Alicia is still alive, but barely. He rushes over, lifting her slightly. She says she can't see well, her body aching all over. Corin runs through her symptoms: dizziness, loss of smell, ringing in the ears, and instantly knows the culprit: peacock frog venom. Dangerous stuff, but luckily Park's poison-making skills weren't high enough to make it lethal. The fong is still lodged in her wound. He needs to act fast. He wraps his belt tight around her shoulder to slow the bleeding, assuring her it will also help push out the poison. Her cries of pain make him wince, but there's no time to hesitate. To keep her from biting her tongue, he shoves something between her teeth, Park's hand. He tells her to bite down as hard as she needs. Then he rips off his shirt to press against the wound, working quickly. All the while, one thought lingers in his mind. He's somehow back in the past again, but this time, the game's main hero is dead, and Alicia Arden's fate is hanging by a thread. What happens if he can't save her in time? Park Shiu is gone, the so-called hero of the story, and Alicia Arden is still breathing. For Corin, that alone makes everything worth it. She's still in pain, her voice trembling with moans, but he moves quickly, gathering herbs, mixing ingredients, doing everything to prepare an antidote. While his hands work, his voice stays calm and steady, reassuring her that no one dies for nothing. Through the haze of poison and blood loss, she calls him her savior. Mustering the last bit of her strength, she says she wants to know the name of the man who saved her. But Cora brushes it off. No names, no stories. She should just rest, and he'll wake her when the antidote is ready. Inside, he knows he needs to keep his activities quiet from here on out. Time to take stock of the bigger picture. The game's title, Heroic Legends of Arhen, is all about a single hero rising to save the world while juggling academy life, endless incidents, and, eventually, the final boss. Park had followed that path because the story demanded it, but now, the hero's dead. And Corin Locke has been thrust into that role. There's just one problem. As an additional player, he doesn't get the juicy system perks the real protagonist had. The stats transfer was nice, but that's not enough. He can't coast on future knowledge alone. So, he decides he needs another source of power. 3 years of grueling training have already sharpened him far beyond an average NPC. Now he turns to something he studied in his last life: runes. Ancient symbols of magic, steeped in power and danger. Among them are the legendary runes of the 3 commandments. Laws so strong they can grant superhuman abilities, but only if the oaths they're bound to are fulfilled. One by one, he carves them into himself. First is duty, an oath to never ignore the misfortunes of good people. Keep it, and his stats soar. Break it, and he'll be fined tenfold. The second is restriction. He swears never to accept spirits. With his spiritual perception at 0, ghosts and intangible beings can't touch him. But fail, and he'll take 6 times the normal damage. Finally comes the most dangerous, the oath, a vow to save the world itself. This one carries the weight of true ambition and the risk of certain death if broken. Even Park, in his past life, had avoided it. As the runes blaze with energy, the system locks in the commandments. From now on, these promises aren't just words. They're chains and wings all at once. One slip, and it's over. And with that, Corin Locke's path as the world's unplanned hero truly begins. But what happens when the first commandment is tested?